Kerry. How are you?
I'm fabulous, thank you. What about you?
Very well, thank you. I can see that from your vibrant color you're wearing. So beautiful. Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kerry Wallace, and we are having her on Global Virtual Summit 2024 on day one in Eastern Time Zone. And we are we had some wonderful sessions all together. We are heading towards few more speeches down the lane, and they're very interesting. So let's introduce Kerry Wallace, and then she can take over. Kerry Wallace is a best-selling author, certified in multiple coaching streams, a qualified counselor, an international speaker, and educator. She has spoken at the ICF Business Development Conference, the Australian Counselling Association's statewide conferences, Voices of Women, and numerous other influential summits and podcasts. Katie has been supporting healers, heart centered entrepreneurs, and coaches find the confidence to build their business to profit for over 17 years. Having overcome several traumatic events in her life, Carrie is an expert in knowing how to transform negative events into positive outcomes. An English woman living in Australia, when not serving her clients, you will find Carrie kayaking on the rivers of NSW, bushwalking, or enjoying a glass of fine wine while playing board games with her beloved adult children, and husband. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Carrie. So the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Melinda, for that beautiful, kind words of introduction. And hello, welcome, everybody. Do you want your voice to be heard? Put yes in the chat if you do. Do you want to enjoy the success that you deserve? Put yes in the chat if you do. And do you want to be valued and recognized for the person that you are? Put yes in the chat if you do. Awesome. I'm seeing a ton of yeses. Yes, Lisa. Yes, Wendy. Absolutely. Who wouldn't? And would you like to be like Jo, who went from staring out of her window, wondering if this was how her life was meant to be, frustrated, stuck, and feeling like a complete failure, to leaping out of bed every morning, energized, enthusiastic for the day ahead, feeling great about the woman that she is? If you'd like to be like that, put yes in the chat if you would. And if that's you, and I can see it is, you're in the right place, because in a moment, I'm going to be sharing the 3 steps to take that will shift your mind and change your world. Hi, I'm Kerry Wallace, and I do what I do because there are too many exceptional people, particularly women, who are living lives of quiet despair, feeling trapped by circumstances or situations beyond their control, living in a state of anxiety, fear, and frustration. You see, I know, because that was me some 30 odd years ago. And so now I have a passion for supporting people to step into your power and become the person that you deserve to be. You see, I believe that your voice deserves to be heard. I believe that you have experiences. Excuse me. It's early morning here for me, so I've got a morning voice. I believe you have experiences, skills, and knowledge that can make a massive difference to the lives of others. And I believe when you free yourself from the shackles of the past that keep you stuck, you can achieve anything you desire, break through those barriers, and live the life that you deserve. And I do want to thank you all for being here. You've already set yourselves apart from the majority just by showing up, just by being here. And I want to thank Melinda and WIN for putting on this amazing event. We've already heard from so many inspiring leaders showing the power that you have inside to break down those barriers and build bridges to the life you deserve. Now, since we're going to be spending a little time together, would it be all right to share a little of my story? Now, Melinda shared a little bit, and I am blessed today. It is the most amazing life. I'm an international speaker, empowerment coach, counselor, and marketing mentor. As Melinda said, I'm the author of a best-selling book. I get to enjoy sharing stages with some of the most incredible inspirational women and men. I get to work just 11 months of the year, serving the most amazing heart-centered coaches and healers and counselors, helping them to craft a marketing message that draws their ideal clients to them, fills their list with buyers, and close more than 60% of sales calls. I get to take long weekends whenever I choose and indulge my love of travel. And as you heard, I rather enjoy kayaking on the beautiful rivers of New South Wales with my 2 adult children when they come to visit. And we play board games as well. Yes, we're that family that enjoys Monopoly. Our home is ruled by the most adorable ragdoll cat. He's called Captain Jack, and he does rule the roost and graciously allows my husband and I and our little mini foxy dog to share the space with him. So yes, things are pretty incredible now, but it wasn't always like this. I left the corporate world back in the end of the 90s when we made the decision to start our family. You see, I'd been a latchkey kid and I hated coming home to a cold and empty house. And it was something I didn't want for my children. I wanted to be there when they came home from school. And much as I love being a mum, I needed to do something for me as well. So I started my own business. Now, initially it was in network marketing, and it evolved into supporting solopreneurs to navigate the then evolving world of the internet. We're talking early 2000s here. Life was pretty damn good. My home was full of love and laughter. The children were the most cheeky, adorable children you can ever imagine. And oh my gosh, my husband and I, we were so happy. And then the laughter stopped. One day, my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and 1 short year later, he died. To say I was devastated would be a real understatement. The world suddenly felt empty and cold. I had no support and was totally numb. I was confused, overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I realized myself and my children, who were still young at the time, were in danger of losing our home. You see, there was no inheritance for me. And at that time, my business was little more than a hobby. I was desperate. So I jumped onto pretty much every new idea out there. I spent a lot of time and money I didn't have learning how to market my services. And I did manage to turn things around. I took a gazillion marketing courses, became qualified in copywriting and digital marketing to go with the multiple, I think there's about 12 coaching modalities that I'm certified in. And I did figure out a way to consistently attract clients and generate sustainable income for my business. So I did turn my business around. However, it went from a very sporadic £2,000 a month income and it was sporadic, it wasn't every month, to £6,000 months. But it was still sporadic. The income was going up and then it would go back down. And I couldn't figure out what was going on until one day the universe showed me in a pretty traumatic way. It was kind of like receiving a big wet fish slap right across my face, waking me up to what was actually going on. And what happened, I received my own cancer diagnosis. And cancer for me had two impacts. Apart from the physical elements of losing my hair, which was pretty traumatic in itself, cancer had a massive impact in knocking my confidence. It plummeted. And then I realized why my income, although I had saved the house and was generating significantly more than I had been, I realized why it was still sporadic. And it was all to do with my confidence. I realized that I had never truly believed that I was worthy of success. And I wonder how many of you have a desire to achieve, whether it's in the corporate world, whether it's your own business, it doesn't matter. I wonder how many have the desire to achieve, and yet it always seems that success seems just out of reach. Put me or that's me into the chat if you've experienced that. Absolutely, absolutely. It's a very common phenomenon. And I discovered, thank you, Kristin, yes. And I discovered that actually there are 3 steps to changing everything. And when I implemented these 3 steps that I'm about to share with you, my business went from a very successful 6K, sporadic 6K a month to $6,000 days. And my business has never looked back. I've achieved success way beyond my wildest imaginings when I first started out. So let's go through these 3 steps, and I call them the 3 R's. Now, the first R is recognize. And this is what happened to me through the cancer. I was able to recognize those thoughts and deeply embedded beliefs that I was holding about myself, decisions that I had made way back in my early childhood that were impacting my life. Now, recognizing those, you may think, well, that sounds pretty easy. I know what I'm thinking. And yes, you probably do. However, recognizing where those thoughts come from is the challenge. And this is what cancer enabled me to do. While I was healing from the cancer, I took the time to work on me and recognize what had actually was going on. And you see, what I realized was that when you recognize how you view yourself is actually how the world views you, everything changes. You see, everything that you see, everything that you experience is actually a reflection of what you are on the inside. In psychology, we call this perception is projection. When you recognize this, you're able to reclaim your power. Now, this is so critical to your growth and your success, because when you realize what's been happening, when you realize what those shackles are that are holding you tethered to scarcity and to lack, then you're in a position to decide what to do about it, to decide what is serving you and what is not. When you are able to recognize what's been sapping your confidence, then you're able to change it. You see, if you think about it, we're all born with infinite confidence. Just watch a baby who's at the crawling stage and there's a toy that they want in front of them, a little out of reach. They will crawl and they will keep trying to crawl until they get to that toy that they want, or that piece of food, or whatever it is. They don't even contemplate that they might not be able to reach it. They don't fear what might get in their way. They just see what they want and they go for it. They have unlimited confidence. And that's what we're born with. Now, when we are born, we're brought into the world and our mind is completely clear. Think of it, if you like a garden. Our mind is like a garden. The soil is freshly turned, ready to be planted. It is the experiences that you have, the situations that you find yourself in, the needs that you have that go unmet, the words that you hear from others over and over, maybe even the words that you tell yourself, that create the doubts and begin to form a barrier between who you truly are and how you present. We have two minds, an unconscious mind where those seeds of doubt are sown, and our conscious mind, the one that we are projecting out to the world from. Maybe as a child, you felt unsafe, or maybe as a child, you were told you'd never amount to much. Those negative thoughts and emotions only serve to widen the gap between your true self and how you present to the world. It's kind of like those seeds that are planted in your mind are actually weeds of discontent, weeds of disbelief. Every time you hear you're not going to amount to anything, or maybe like J.K. Rowling, you grew up in an environment where you were told that it was bad to be wealthy. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, is an extremely financially wealthy woman now. She wasn't as she was growing up. She lived in very humble council accommodation, and she grew up surrounded by the beliefs and the thoughts that wealth is bad, that people that are rich are somehow unworthy of their riches. So when she became wealthy herself through the Harry Potter series, she didn't believe it was right for her. So she ended up sabotaging a lot of her activities. She ended up giving away her wealth. It's why a lot of people, when they win the lottery, become bankrupt again within a few months, sometimes even days or weeks. So I wonder, what are your thoughts around wealth? What are your thoughts around deserving? How much do you believe that you are enough? If you grew up in an environment where those weeds were planted into your fertile soil of your mind, and each time you heard those phrases, rich people know they're just out to get you. Wealth is not good. You have to work hard for your money. Success, you have to work hard for success. You're never going to be any good at math. Whatever it is that you heard or indeed told yourself, every time those phrases or you experience situations that supported those thoughts, those weeds of discontent are watered and the roots of the weeds grow. And what happens is they become entangled deep in your mind. And just like weeds in a garden, now I'm not a gardener, but I have a good colleague who is, and she tells me if you just chop the weeds off at the surface, it's not going to make a difference. They're going to grow again. And it's exactly the same in our minds. If you seek to change a thought by telling yourself, oh, I am worthy of success, I am good enough. That's a surface level. You're kind of chopping those weeds off at the surface. It is, and it won't make a difference, or it might do for a short time, but it won't make a long-term difference unless you go deep. Recognize what the roots of the discontent are and remove those. So, how can you recognize what these thoughts are, what these decisions you've made about yourself are, what the masks that you've put on your face through the years to protect yourself? How do you realize and recognize what they are? Well, for that, you need to go deep and recognize how you truly see yourself. And to do that, you need to understand how the brain works. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into this. We have very limited time here today. But I will just say that at any one moment in time, like right now, there's a gazillion bits of information all around you. You can hear my voice, you can see the screen, you can see the background, and whatever else is going on where you're currently sat or stood at the moment. But in that same moment, your brain can only process a tiny smidge. So, what is it that determines what information the brain sees, what information the brain processes? Well, that is determined by your filters. And your filters are those beliefs that you hold about yourself, beliefs you hold about the world, beliefs you hold about others. It's kind of like we're wearing tinted glasses. Imagine my glasses that I'm wearing here were tinted blue. As I look around the world, everything that I see is going to be tinted blue, right? The tint of your glasses colors how you see the world. And what tints your glasses are those weeds that have been planted in your mind, sometimes from a very, very early age. Some would even say past lives or generations. And I certainly don't have time today to get into that. The filters that you have are rooted in the past. And because they are rooted, the roots of the weeds, they grow deep. It is not always easy to recognize what they are, which is why step one to shifting your mind and changing your world is you need to recognize deep what those roots are. Only then will you be able to bring those roots to your conscious mind, and then you can process them. Which leads us very nicely to step two, to shifting your mind and changing your world. Step one is recognize what's going on. What are the weeds that you have growing in your mind? Once you've recognized them and understood how the roots are entangled, step two is to then release them. Once you've recognized the filters that you are using to take information from the world around you, once you've recognized the impact that those filters have on how you see yourself and therefore how others see you, it's time to release them. And to release those blocks that have been holding you back, change those filters, you need to understand that in your mind, there really are two levels, conscious and unconscious. The conscious mind is where you make decisions, but it's actually the unconscious mind that controls about 90% of what you actually do. And your unconscious mind is made up of four voices: your ego, your inner critic, your inner child, and your intuition. Now, they all serve a purpose. And I don't want you to go away from today thinking, oh, ego and inner critic are bad. They're not. They serve a purpose. The purpose is to protect you. And if you've grown up and have those weeds planted in your mind that are saying that you're not enough, then your inner ego, your inner critic, is going to seek to keep you safe. And in doing that, they keep you stuck. They believe that the status quo where you currently are is the safe place to be. So they will seek to protect you, but in doing so, they keep you stuck. For me, my inner critic was shouting very loudly. So you need to be able to understand what's going on in your mind so that you can release those beliefs from deep at their roots. How do you do that? Because those weeds are so deeply rooted in your mind, it's impossible to see them. And that's where you can use the services of coaching and counseling, but not just any coaching. Most works at the surface level, at the conscious mind, helping you recognize beliefs. What I've been talking about here is you need to go deeper. It is a certain type of coaching that helps you go below the surface to recognize where the roots of those beliefs originated, what those roots are, so that you can pluck them and release them. Which leads us nicely to step 3. Once you've recognized those thoughts, what those roots of discontent that keep you stuck in scarcity and lack are, you've then done the inner work to release them. Then you're able to move into step 3, which is the third R, where you can reclaim your authentic self. So through the first 2 steps, recognizing what you're telling yourself and where those thoughts have come from, releasing them, going deep into your unconscious mind, doing a combination of conscious mind work and unconscious mind work. So the roots are ripped, the weeds are ripped out from the roots. Through that, you will have realized those layers of masks that you've built to protect yourself. Once you've released that, and you are able then to recognize your identity that you've suppressed over the years, so that you can then design your life your way to live fulfilled and happy. One of my clients, we'll call her Sonia, and I'm aware we're nearly out of time today. She'd fallen out with her brother. She hadn't spoken to him for years. Doing this work, she was able to recognize the masks she built around herself, the protective layers that she built, her false identity. Through the work that we did, she reclaimed her true self. She was able to enjoy a complete paradigm shift in her mind, a fundamental change in how the underlying assumptions that she used to live her life by and how she saw herself. Imagine believing deep down that you're worthy of success. You deserve to be adored and cherished. This seismic shift is a 10-step process, and it's quite unique because, as I've mentioned, it combines not only conscious mind work, but it goes deep in the unconscious mind so that you release and remove those roots to really reveal and reclaim your authentic self, so you no longer have to remain trapped and stuck and frustrated. And you too can change how you see yourself. I did. And I've been able to enjoy freedom and wealth. You can too. You can live by your choice. So as we near the end of our time together, I do just want to share a very special gift that I've got for you. It's my empowerment guide called Unleash Your Potential. Let me just put the link into the chat. You should hopefully see that link in the chat. So if you are fed up of feeling second best, if you're fed up of feeling like an also-ran and want to be recognized for the person that you are, stop being a follower and become the leader of your life. Download that guide. It comes in the form of a PDF, and there's a 6 audio series that goes along with it that will help you start to recognize what those inner blocks are, what those filters you might have in place that's stopping you from becoming the person that you deserve to be. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation today. So, we do have a question from our audience. Here is the question. How do
Pop
you
in a
balance
question.
your professional commitments with personal activities like kayaking and bushwalking?
I'm so sorry, I can't hear you very well. Your mic's very quiet.
How do you balance your professional commitments with personal activities like kayaking and bushwalking?
Great question. Great question. And balance is so important, isn't it? How do I balance mine? I make the decision. I know what's right for me. I know how I feel when I'm kayaking on those rivers of New South Wales. And seriously, if you've not been here to Australia, you need to come because it's just fabulous. How do I create that balance? I make the decision. And it really does start with that. I know what needs to be done in my business to be successful. And through all this work that we've been talking about today, I've made sure that the way I've structured my business and my time, I have built into that time for me. This was one of the things I learned through my cancer journey, that if I didn't look after myself, I wasn't going to be able to support my clients, let alone my family. So I build in to my week, to my schedule, time for me. I said at the start, I only work 11 months of the year. December is blocked out. I get to take long weekends when I choose. How do I do it? I'm organized and I block out that time so that it doesn't get eaten up with all the things that you need to do when you're running your business.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the great explanation and sharing your great speech with Global Virtual Summit 2024. So we look forward to hear more presentations from you for our future conferences as well. So please join our next session. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.